Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another episode of Overbooked, the series where I talk about every single book on my shelves because I found a magic compass that points me to my destiny and it said I should finish this. Today we are talking about Chelsea Abdullah's The Stardust Thief. Welcome to the first video in phase 2 of my Overbooked project. In 2019, I set out to review every single book on my shelves and got through to the end and realised I'd missed a bunch. So we're back in alphabetical order, we're back at A again, and I'm reviewing this book. Some quick disclaimers before we start. I was sent this review copy from the lovely people at Orbit for free. Regardless of where books come from, nobody's paying me to talk about books except my patrons, and all opinions are my own. I will keep this as spoiler-free as possible while still talking about my overall feelings on the book. If you do want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, pause the video, come back when you've read it, we'll talk then. And I will link the story graph for the series below in case you want to check out any user-generated content warnings. This is a 1001 Nights inspired fantasy novel. It is adult fantasy. I think it edges into a YA territory at times. It's definitely one of those crossover kind of books. It originally came out in the UK on the 17th of May 2022. Its author, Chelsea Abdullah, is a Kuwaiti-American writer. This was her debut, and her follow-up book, the second book, The Ashfire King, will be out in 2024. So, this is book 1 in the Sand Sea trilogy. We're in a world where the Jinn are hunted by humans in order that humans can use their magical blood. All of the Jinn at some point disappeared into a mystical place in the Sand Sea. A lot of mythology happening. You don't need to worry too much about this for the getting into it side of things. One of our main characters, one of our perspective characters, Luli, is the Midnight Merchant. She is a relic hunter and maybe a thief. It's kind of hard to establish. She's more of a merchant, and she hunts for relics along with her Jinn bodyguard, Kadir. She ends up saving the life of the younger Prince Mazin, and at the same time gets arrested and brought to the palace where the Sultan tells her that she needs to go on a quest to find, because she's so good at finding relics, this ancient relic, a lamp that they need to find. She's going to be going with the prince's older brother, Omar. However, Prince Mazin is our other perspective character, and Omar makes him switch places with him, giving the illusion that he is Omar and Omar is him. And together with Aisha, who is a Jinn hunter, who's killed many Jinn on a revenge quest of her own, they all set off into the desert to try and find the magic lamp. We're getting the 1001 Nights inspiration here. That's coming through clearly. Good. This is one of those books that has storytelling as a core theme, which is, again, to be expected with 1001 Nights as inspiration. There are stories within the story that are written out. I think they probably look a little bit nicer in the finished copy. In mine, they're a little bit hard to read, but I think that's just an art problem, so we won't dwell on it. If you like that theme of storytelling, of story within story, if you like the idea of keeping information alive through storytelling, passing on details of the world and magic and history and all of those things, you find all of that in this book. I know some people don't like books that have stories in the middle of them. I have some friends where that's just a huge no for them, so I thought I'd mention it in case that's you. I do think this is a good example of a sort of desert adventure fantasy. There are quite a lot of them, and I've read quite a lot of them recently, and a lot of them have come out of Orbit recently. Just something I've noticed, just something I've observed. They are all different, but there's a continuity here. That might be a good thing if that's the thing you really enjoy. There's just more of it around. I think one of the big things I liked is there are a lot of those classic storytelling elements of identities being hidden and revealed, and secret loves and betrayal and revelations of things. It's a good story for everybody's got a secret and it's always shocking when they reveal it. If you like that kind of classic adventure story combined with a bit of mythological importance coming in, this might be a book for you. And I think probably the biggest thing is you can tell there's a real love for the region. Chelsea Abdullah has spoken frequently in interviews about how she was really homesick for Kuwait writing this book, and you definitely get a sense of that love for the region and the, not necessarily culture because it is a fantasy culture, but perhaps just the way of life in this kind of place. You definitely get that idea. I also feel that Chelsea Abdullah is a very visual person because you definitely get the sense of scenes being created and tableaus being depicted in this story. Again, if that's your thing, great. If not, might be a no for you. One thing I did really like is that in a lot of the similar books to this, what will happen is you'll have a male character and a female character, both of whom are perspective characters, POVs, and you'll flip between one and the other, and you just really get the sense that they should just talk to one another, and then eventually they kiss, and you're like, great, that was fine. In this, because there are a couple of other POVs, there's at least one, I'm trying now to remember if there was two. I really did only read this last week and I already can't remember. But there is at least one other. It elevates it from just being another one of those books. And it means that you get a sense that the romance is not the core of the book, which I think often authors will try and do. But when you're dealing with people who are in the same space, it often becomes just about their relationship, and I liked that this book went beyond that, and I believe that if it continued to do so in the later books, they would be stronger. It does have an element of, well, I've read this before and I've seen similar things before, and a familiarity to it. I've talked a lot about familiarity on this channel and in this series, in fact, and about how often that can be a very comforting thing. I think for me this time around, and it's probably unfortunate that it's come about for making this video, I have been reading a lot of very similar books, and I don't think that this does anything particularly new on its own to make it shine more than those. So I would say if you're planning on picking this up, I wouldn't read it near a lot of similar stuff. I wouldn't read it at the same time as a lot of desert fantasy books. I wouldn't read it around a lot of debuts, and I wouldn't necessarily read it alongside a lot of fantasy that has a romantic angst plot in it, would be my suggestion. Maybe it's just me. I think possibly it was. My kind of romance tolerance has gone down slightly. I've been reading a lot of very romantic books, and they're intentionally so, and so subplot romance hasn't really been my thing. I didn't feel like there was a lot of chemistry between the characters in this. Even the non-romantic characters, even the kind of animosity, the chemistry wasn't quite there. I'll be really interested to see if it appears in book 2 once there's just been a bit more development in the kind of writing and the writer-editor relationship and so such. I think that's my big thing. I want to see how book 2 feels. I want to see if it gets more complex in terms of exploration of character and feeling and that theme of storytelling. I'd be really interested to see whether it manages to do all of that and still keep the sense of adventure and purpose and direction that this book has, because I did like all of those elements. I think you can feel that this is a debut, and I'm really interested to see what later books from Chelsea Abdullah feel like. Should I potentially therefore have waited until 2024 to make this video? Maybe, but Overbooked schedule comes first. At some point, I will learn to let go of a schedule. It is not this day. Other things you might want to read if you enjoyed this. I recently read The Phoenix King by Aparna Verma. When I say recently, I mean yesterday, so it's very fresh in my mind. That is a more modern set desert fantasy that I did think was very good. It's not all desert, but there is a lot of desert elements to it. That's Indian inspired and a good time. Obviously, India and Kuwait, very different places. Not saying they are the same. Definitely not saying they are the same, but in terms of storytelling elements, I found some similarities. If you do want that him and her perspective book and you're looking for a YA, I can recommend The Tiger at Midnight by Swati Tidala. That's a very good book. So yes, do I recommend reading The Stardust Thief? I am going to hold my full judgment until the series is done, and I think I will read the sequel. I will at least read book 2 to see if I feel differently about it, which I wasn't necessarily expecting when I started the reread. I thought it would be a very easy unhaul, but I have read other debuts that I liked less. I've read debuts that I haven't wanted to reread in any way, shape or form and have grazed my shelves and immediately left. So I think there is something to this, and there is something to Chelsea Abdullah's writing. It is not just another debut in a sea of debuts. However, book 2 needs to be solid to cement this as a series that I will keep and a series that I will read book 3 of. Have you read this? Do you have plans to? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams and more. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much to you for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be some bloopers now. Some quick disclaimers before we start. I was sent a